Can you give us some hospital discharge tips?
Sure, I'd love to. So like you said, it's overwhelming when you're in the hospital and you're helping an older adult navigate the discharge process. And of course, when they're in the hospital, you're going to meet all kinds of people, nurses, doctors, CNAs, therapists, discharge planners, social workers. And it's funny, the discharge planner a lot of times shows up the first day and you're like, well, how do you know when I'm leaving?
Right.
And so they have to fill out a bunch of paperwork, but really the best person to meet with is a social worker. Make sure you really get to know them, ask for their name, how to contact them, and really have lots of questions ready and waiting for them. They will be the ones that will help you find home care if it's needed, or if it's needed to move to a community, they'll give them a list of different communities that offer rehab or respite care or skilled nursing if it's necessary. They also can help with medical equipment and all those things. So yes, the social worker is the best person to befriend at the hospital.
Gotcha. And what about some even tips for the family? What are some things that they need to consider when a loved one is discharged?
So yes, first things first is when they're discharged, where can they go? Can they go home? If they can go home, do they need extra help on a daily basis, whether that's home health or therapy or some other medical assistance, whether it's special equipment or special other types of services, even if they're going home on possibly hospice care. Those things need to be asked. And if they are going to a community, finding out whether it could be just a temporary stay in a community. If a rehabilitation, say for a broken hip, usually you can go for a 30-day respite care to get back on their feet and go back home. Or sometimes it's not that easy and they end up needing some full-time care for the rest of the time. And so asking those questions, what kind of care is needed, is really important to figure those things out. And then also knowing if they are going home, what kind of shape is the house in? Is it safe for them? Are the doors wide enough to move through a wheelchair? Is there a ramp on the front if they have multiple stairs? There are a lot of services that can put up a ramp. Even Home Depot has a special service where they can come over and put up a ramp on your front steps. Do they need a bedside commode put in their bedroom? Do they need all the area rugs rolled up? Those kinds of things need to be thought about when going home as well.
Which I would imagine a lot of people don't even think about that pre-hospital. If you're just living your normal life and you've been living in your home for a number of years, you probably take for granted being able to go up and down the stairs, in and out of the doorways pretty easily. But then if an event happens where you do need some care, you've got a medical issue, and now you need a different kind of care than before, then yeah, these are definitely things that are going to need to be considered. I know for myself, and I know we've talked about this before, Courtney, I live in an old historic home, over 150 years old. And so we have some pretty darn narrow doorways. And I don't know if it would be logistically possible to widen some of those doorways, but thinking about those things ahead of time definitely are important. But if you can't ahead of time, what are some things that we need to do right away? What about even things like rugs, like simple fixes like that, right? Like things that people can trip on, moving those. I mean, those are probably some pretty easy fixes.
Right. Definitely walking through the house and just thinking of yourself sitting in a wheelchair with a cane or a walker. What kind of things could be trip hazards? If you see on the floor that an old rug, a lot of them curl up on the corners, can you tape that down? Or do you think it's just best to just roll it up and put it away for the time being? Are there cords? A lot of old houses, Kelly, you probably understand just like I do. A lot of old houses only have a few outlets per room.
Yeah.
And so you might have extension cords reaching all across the room, down hallways. Is there a way to figure out how to remove those extension cords and make it a little bit safer with no more tripping hazards? Also finding great lighting. Do you need to find somebody to put up new lighting in hallways to make it brighter and easier to see? Also nowadays they have those great suction lights that you can just tap, and you can put those at floor level to brighten up the walkway to make it safer. And then bathrooms and closets, and then the kitchen, all the main places people usually go around in their home.
Right. What about even thinking about insurance, Courtney, when discharged from the hospital? Are there certain things that people need to keep in mind with their medical insurance? If they have long-term care insurance, that's another conversation too. But even with medical insurance, if you are being admitted into a rehab place, like what are things that people should probably ask their insurance company or talk to the hospital about at time of discharge?
Absolutely find a Medicare agent.
Okay.
Usually the hospital discharge planners and social workers and doctors and nurses don't really quite understand what each insurance company can offer. And also there's just so many, it's hard to keep up, but somebody that is a professional in that industry has to keep up on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. So finding a Medicare agent in your area, the social worker can help you find that. Then asking them, all you have to do is provide what your current medical needs are, give a little history about your finances, and they can assist you and guide you on what kind of care you can receive, what you won't be receiving, what you'll be paying out of pocket, those kinds of things. And they're also, elder law attorneys are very helpful with that as well. They keep up with Medicare and Social Security that assist with the expenses of leaving a hospital.
Sure, because I would imagine those can rack up pretty quickly. Depending on what your situation was, that could be a very, very large bill. So you want to make sure that the insurance company is billing you properly, but you know what coverage you have. So yes, definitely working with a professional Medicare and health insurance agent in order to know what you have and, what facilities or communities will accept your coverage is really important.
Right. Thankful we have people like you, Kelly, because long-term care is a wonderful addition to have. And then your knowledge and wanting to learn more. It's so great that you do this to help your clients out. It really is huge.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, people need to be educated. They need to understand the differences and the nuances and how these work because it is a bit complicated. So it is definitely a good thing to work with someone that is experienced and has the expertise in that.